Cheers from New York City. G'day mates, Jake here, your Aussie friend coming to you from New York City, the Big Apple. I've flown all the way from Australia to answer the burning question, should I go to New York? Let me tell you, as soon as I stepped foot in this city, I felt the energy buzzing in the air. I'm here to share my real adventures, the crazy fun moments, and a few laughs along the way, so buckle up. Now, I'm not reading off a brochure. I'm giving you my first-person story of what it's actually like exploring NYC. From the bright lights of Times Square to munching a hot dog at a Mets game in Queens, I've been all over this town. So, if you're wondering whether New York is worth the trip, stick around. By the end of this video, you'll have a fair dinkum idea if you should pack your bags for the Big Apple. Let's get started on this wild New York ride. First stop, Times Square. It's everything you expect. Flashing neon lights, bustling crowds, and music everywhere. I stepped out of the subway and felt like I'd landed in the middle of a movie set. It's chaotic but fun chaos. I grabbed a slice of pizza, and while I was dodging street performers dressed as superheroes, I couldn't help but feel like I was part of the action. Times Square is touristy, but you gotta experience it for yourself at least once. After the madness of Times Square, I needed a break from the crowds, so I headed to Central Park. I've got to say, I didn't realize how massive this place was. It's not just a park, it's practically its own little ecosystem in the heart of the city. I rented a bike and cycled around the winding paths, passing by beautiful lakes, sprawling lawns and towering trees. At one point, I just stopped and sat by the mall, where people were playing music, reading books, or just taking in the sunshine. What I really loved was the blend of natural beauty and city energy. You could see the city skyline peeking through the trees, and you could still hear the distant hum of traffic, but it felt so much quieter than the streets of Manhattan. I wandered over to Bethesda Terrace, where I took in the view of the fountain and the steps leading down to the water. It's a perfect spot to just sit and enjoy the scene. There was even a street performer playing the violin near the Bow Bridge, adding a soundtrack to my peaceful stroll. I also made sure to grab a Central Park hot dog. You've got to do it. While I ate, I watched a group of people playing frisbee, and it struck me how this park has so many different sides. From peaceful quiet spots to family picnics and even impromptu frisbee games, there's something for everyone. It's a must-see that lets you experience another relaxing and revitalizing side of New York. Later, I headed up the Empire State Building. I won't lie, I was a bit nervous, but the view from the top was absolutely worth it. You get this incredible 360-degree view of the city that just takes your breath away. I snapped a photo with Lady Liberty in the distance and joked around with other tourists about King Kong. It's an iconic NYC experience and gives you the true scale of this massive city. Next, I took the ferry to Liberty Island to see the Statue of Liberty. It was surreal to see her up close, towering over the water. I spent some time exploring and learning about her history, which gave me a real appreciation for how much she represents to so many people. The views of Manhattan from the island were stunning, and I snapped the usual selfie with Lady Liberty. Later on, I managed to snag a ticket to The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. The studio was smaller than I expected, but the energy was incredible. Jimmy cracked jokes, the band jammed, and I laughed so hard I nearly cried. I even got to chat with some of the other audience members. Turns out, an Aussie accent gets a lot of attention. It was a great mix of comedy and excitement. If you can score tickets, don't miss it. I went to Radio City Music Hall next to see Barry Manilow, and I was immediately taken by the beauty of the place. The Art Deco style of the hall is absolutely stunning. From the moment I walked in, I was hit with the rich history of the space. The lobby is all grand arches and gold accents, with a vibe that made me feel like I had stepped back in time. I could almost hear the echoes of the stars who've performed here before. It's legendary. Once I took my seat, the energy was electric. The audience was ready for Barry, and when he walked out, it was like the whole place erupted. His performance had everyone on their feet, especially when he played classics like Mandy and Copacabana. Despite not being the biggest fan, I got caught up in the fun, singing along and laughing with the crowd. It's not just about the music, though. Radio City itself is a showstopper. The history, the grandness, and the charm of the place make it a quintessential New York experience. The next night, I headed to Broadway for a performance of Wicked. I'm a big fan of musicals, but nothing could have prepared me for the sheer spectacle of this show. The theater itself was buzzing with excitement as the audience found their seats, and I settled in, eager for the show to start. The opening number was absolutely mind-blowing. The sets were dazzling, the costumes were top-notch, and the performances were stunning. The story of Elphaba and Glinda had me hooked from start to finish. I'd heard about it before, but seeing it live was a whole other experience. When Elphaba soared into the air during defying gravity, I had goosebumps. The music, the choreography, the entire production was so well done that I didn't want it to end, and I couldn't help but marvel at how Broadway can take something as simple as a song or a character and turn it into pure magic. The energy from the crowd was contagious, and I left the theater feeling like I'd just witnessed something truly spectacular. After soaking in all that NYC hustle and bustle, I decided to head over to Williamsburg, Brooklyn for a taste of the local scene. Williamsburg is known for its cool bars, eclectic cafes, and street art. It's the artistic heart of Brooklyn. I wandered through the streets, checking out the murals on the walls, and made my way to a laid-back bar with a craft beer selection that had me absolutely spoiled for choice. The vibe was relaxed with a mix of locals and visitors, and the bartender made sure I got the full Brooklyn experience by recommending a few local brews. I ended up making some new friends at the bar, and we all headed out to explore more of the neighborhood. From there, we went up to Brooklyn Heights for stunning views of Manhattan at sunset. The skyline was gorgeous, especially with the lights starting to twinkle as the sun dipped behind the buildings. The Brooklyn Bridge looked like something out of a postcard, and it felt so surreal to be standing there soaking in that iconic NYC view. Another evening, I found myself in Greenwich Village, which is the perfect neighborhood if you're looking for some great food in a cozy, laid-back setting. After wandering the charming streets lined with brownstones, I stumbled upon this amazing Italian place, the kind of cozy mom-and-pop spot with checkered floors and red sauce on the menu. I sat and ordered a classic spaghetti marinara. It was just what I needed. Simple, delicious, and full of comforting flavors. The vibe in the village is super relaxed, and there's something about the tree-lined streets, little cafes, and friendly locals that just makes it feel like home. After dinner, I wandered around a bit, exploring the quaint bookstores and stopped by a cute cafe. Greenwich Village is known for its artsy history, and you can still feel it in the air. It's a wonderful area to just stroll around, eat, and soak up that charming NYC atmosphere. For lunch one day, I ventured over to Chinatown. The streets were a sensory overload. The smells, the sounds, and the crowds all mixed together. I found a little spot serving dumplings and noodles, and I was in heaven. The dumplings were so fresh, steaming hot, and packed with flavor. It's a quick and affordable option for a bite when you're wandering around NYC, and it's one of the best places to grab a bite without spending too much. After lunch, I took a quick stroll through the bustling streets and checked out some of the vibrant markets selling everything from fresh fish to knickknacks. As night fell, I headed over to the East Village to check out some of the nightlife. The East Village is known for its low-key cocktail lounges and dive bars, so I was excited to explore. I popped into a few places, each with its own unique vibe. One had a vintage feel with a funky jukebox in the corner, while another was more modern with an avant-garde cocktail menu. The drinks were delicious, and the bartenders were cool, mixing up unique concoctions while chatting with the regulars. For a late-night bite, I found a cozy Polish diner serving pierogies and sausages, super affordable and surprisingly filling. I sat at the bar and struck up a conversation with some locals who were all too happy to share their recommendations for things to do in the city. The East Village has a real underground charm to it. It's not as polished as some of the other neighborhoods, but that's what makes it so special. It's gritty, vibrant, and full of hidden gems. One of the last places I visited was Harlem, a neighborhood that is rich in history and culture. I stopped by Sylvia's, the legendary soul food restaurant that's been serving up delicious Southern cooking since 1962. The food was exactly what I needed: fried chicken, collard greens, cornbread, all cooked to perfection. The restaurant itself was filled with friendly faces and had an energy to it that made you feel like you were part of something special. Sylvia's has been an institution in Harlem, and it's a must-visit for anyone looking to experience the area's culinary soul. After lunch, I took a walk around the neighborhood, soaking in the vibe. Harlem is known for its jazz clubs, gospel music, and its strong connection to African American culture. It's a place where you can learn about the struggles, triumphs, and history of the people who shaped this neighborhood. I even stopped by the Apollo Theater, another historic landmark that's hosted legendary performers like Ella Fitzgerald, James Brown, and more. Harlem has a lot to offer beyond just the food. It's got history, music, and an undeniable sense of community. Now comes the big question I came here to answer. Should you go to New York? After all these adventures, you can probably guess my personal answer. Absolutely yes. New York City blew my expectations out of the water. It's not just the famous landmarks, though those were awesome. It's the feeling of the place. One day you're a wide-eyed tourist in Times Square, the next you're singing show tunes on Broadway, clinking beers with Brooklyn locals, and cheering with thousands of fans at a ball game. The city is alive like no other, and somehow it makes you feel more alive too. I hope sharing my real, unfiltered experiences helped you get a feel for what NYC is like. I tried to keep it authentic, the good, the crazy, and the unforgettable. So if you were on the fence about visiting the Big Apple, take it from me. Go for it, mate. There's something here for everyone, and you'll make memories to last a lifetime. I've had an absolute blast, and I'm already daydreaming about my next trip back. Before I sign off, I want to say thanks for tagging along on my New York journey. If you enjoyed this adventure and it helped you decide whether to come here, do me a solid, hit that like button and subscribe to Should I Go for more travel shenanigans with yours truly. I've got plenty more places to explore and crazy stories to share. And hey, drop a comment below. Have you been to NYC? Got any funny travel stories or questions if you're planning a trip? I'd love to hear them. Until next time, this is Jake signing off. Cheers and happy travels wherever you may roam. And remember, life's an adventure. So get out there and find your own Big Apple to take a bite of. Catch you later, mates.